Number 14, Erica Hughes says, because it is a fruit of the Spirit, self-control. Oh, let me read that one. I messed up in the way I read your question. Because it is a fruit of the Spirit, is self-control a teachable skill, like in Titus 2, or a gift of the Spirit? What practical advice do you give to some to get more emotional and verbal self-control? Okay, so I think that, Erica, maybe the answer to your question is just simply it's not either or. It's self-control is not merely a practiced or teachable skill, and it is not merely a gift of the Spirit. It is something that you can teach others to have, or at least try to teach them to have. You can instill it in them through discipline, and you can also have increased self-control simply as the work of the Spirit in your life. Doesn't seem like an either or situation to me. It seems like a both and. And Titus 2, like you says, it says that the older women should teach the younger women to be self-controlled. And so, yeah, self-control is something you can actually teach. You say, hey, don't do that, do this. You're just instructing them on what is right and wrong, making them aware, self-aware of things they're doing. This is a lot of times being discipled is just creating self-awareness in other people, right? Where you just say, so man, when's the last time you read the Bible? And they go, oh, it's like 2 weeks ago. Like you're just creating a self-awareness in them where they were kind of ignoring and not thinking and not dealing with it. Or they tell you a story, I did this and that and this and that. And then they go, and you ask them, what do you think your motives were for doing that? And you go, oh, well, I think I was just irritated. And you go, okay. You're just trying to create that awareness. At any rate, so it can be both. What practical advice do you give to get more emotional and verbal self-control? I think the James advice is the best. Let's go there. James chapter 1, and we can look at verse 19. Says, know this, my beloved brothers, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger, for the anger of man does not produce the righteousness of God. That would be some great advice. Quick to hear. Often we're not listening very carefully. When people talk, we aren't listening carefully. When they do speak, we're just thinking about what we're going to say next. So one of the things for self-control is quick to hear. Hearing people. Maybe they're telling me something that's a little uncomfortable. Don't push it out. We in a tiny microsecond, we will... Is that a word? Microsecond? What am I trying to say? In a little tiny moment, in an infinitesimal, microsecondal piece of time, in a Planck time, there we go, there's an actual word. In a Planck time, we will rule out what someone's telling us because we don't like what they're saying. We don't enjoy what they're saying. It's confrontive, it's unpleasant, it's not what you wanted to deal with or hear. And so be quick to hear, first thing. Be quick to hear. What does that mean? How do I apply that? Well, if you care about it, you will find ways to apply it. This is something that's not that hard to do, not that hard to understand, I should say, is you just spend more time listening, listen carefully. This also means that maybe you'll ask questions of people instead of just moving on from what they say. You'll be slow to speak. Hashtag no filter, that is not a biblical thing at all. Being slow to speak is entirely very much about self-control. James 3 will go on to say, if anyone cannot control the tongue, he can't control his whole body. If he can control his tongue, rather, he can control his whole body. So you being slow to speak is a massive area. It's a big win in the self-control department. When you learn to slow down and not say stuff right away when you think it. Not say things out of impulse, but say them out of consideration. The way you do this is don't talk until you've had a chance to think about what you're going to say. I remember learning this practice. Not that I'm great at it, but I do remember a big shift in my life where I was reading James and I was like a teenager and I thought slow to speak, and I started trying to think before I talked every time. And it was a weird, it really changed my life, like legitimately changed my actual life, because I just didn't say things right away. And I started learning to not say things just because I thought they were funny. Maybe I need to relearn this sometimes. Yeah, I probably do. I'm receiving this today. Where I just would say something that was like I thought was funny or entertaining or whatever, but it was not necessarily appropriate. It was not necessarily the right time, or it was not a thoughtful use or good use of humor. And also be slow to anger. So self-control will get overruled very quickly if you're impulsive and you have no filter, but also if you just get angry. The moment you get angry, You got to slow down. Don't be quick to slow to anger. Apply this when you're driving down the street. Apply this when you have tiny inconveniences that just get you a little bit bothered and you get overreacted. You overreact. Oh, that person is horrible. Be slow to anger. Why? Because your anger does not produce the righteousness of God. When God's angry, he does the right thing. He brings righteousness down. Even when he brings his hammer down, it's righteous. When I get angry, it's not righteous. I don't do the right things. I don't handle it perfectly. I overreact. I am unreflective, and I harm others. So self-control could be in those regards. Other areas of self-control would be self-control in the food you eat, not eating too much of it, not eating too much unhealthy food. That's a self-control area. Another self-control area is spiritual disciplines. So being in the Word, being in prayer, there's other self-control areas. They're all things that probably people who struggle with self-control, they don't want to hear, don't want to do. If you just buckle down and do it, you will develop more self-control, because self-control is kind of like a muscle. You get more of it as you do it more. So let's do the next question.